All right. Now, normally I would start and go in order. Now, of course, we didn't do the Anaheim, Arizona review on our way back home because we were driving home and we had a subscriber driving us back here to the hotel. So, the way I would normally do this, we're not able to do. I really want to talk about what happened in Anaheim tonight and the energy in the crowd and all that other wonderful stuff. But I do need to go in chronological order, or this whole thing's going to end up being a mess. So I will get to the Anaheim Arizona game, and we'll get to it in due time. My wife's out right now when she comes back because we've got a busy day tomorrow, so we've got to make sure we've got all the provisions and everything for tomorrow. So, first up, I was getting this board ready for this video. Nashville went into Washington tonight and did something kind of impressive. And yet, if you're the Caps, it's time to go with Samsonov. Whether it's Holtby or it's just the team plays better in front of Samsonov, it's time to go with Samsonov. So, first period, Richard Panik would score from Hagelin. Makes it 1-0 for Washington. Jared Tenorti then scored from Forsberg, and that Tenorti goal, not fantastic. That being said, Granlund then scores from Forsberg and Turris to make it 2-1, and Grimaldi would score from Yossi and Benito to make it 3-1. It's right about here where you might think about pulling the goalie and putting the other guy in, but Washington didn't do that tonight. Capitals do have some thinking to do in terms of their goaltending. I really believe that. That being said, let's not kick the support for the, there we go, for the board. You go ahead and make sure the whole board is showing. And turn that way. There we go. Perfect, right? All right, so Ovechkin would score before the end of the first period. That makes it 3-2, so we go into the second period, and you're thinking there's going to be a lot of goals in this one. Kind of, sort of, yeah. Panik would score his second of the game in the second period, and then Wilson would score from Eller and Ovechkin. And I have to say that, you know, Saros, there was at least a goal or two here because this was while we were having a bite to eat before the game, and there was a goal or two in here. And just from the highlights, I thought both goalies were allowing some softies in to that stage. So we go into the third period, and Washington, they're at home, they're up by 1. They should be able to bring this to a close. Not exactly. Johansson would score to tie it, and then Yannick Weber scores from Hamhuis and Johansson to give the Nashville Predators a 5-4 victory. Your 3 stars are Johansson, Weber, and Panik. Your shots in this game, 15-7 in the first in favor of the Caps, 14-7 Caps in the second, and then the third, shots were 10-4 in favor of Nashville. So when the Capitals came out with a 1-goal lead and needed to nail it down, they didn't get it done. So that's an issue right there. Final shots 33-24 in favor of the home team. Saros saves 29 out of 33. Holtby saves 19 out of 24. So again, broken record on this, right? Go with Samsonov. I think the fans would be happy. I think it just works better if you go with Samsonov as the starter at this point. Go to Samsonov. Just do it. All right, moving along. Toronto went into Dallas tonight, and this is one of those games where if you're a Dallas fan, you should be concerned. You should be concerned because goals against, defense have been the hallmark of the Dallas Stars to this point. They've got Dallas to this spot. And while everybody wants to decry just how poorly the Pacific Division's playing, the fact remains that 5 spots in the playoffs right now belong to teams in the Pacific Division. And I honestly think the division is stronger than it gets credit for. But that's fine. Yeah, it's okay. It's not a big deal. Tonight, though, Toronto goes into Dallas. It starts with Austin Matthews scoring from Marner and Barrie. Matthews is easily passing 50 this year, boys and girls. Gurianov would score from Klingberg to tie things up for Dallas. So after 1, it's a 1-1 tie. Second period, Hyman scores from Marner and Matthews. And Marner, pretty good game for him. Barrie would then score from Kapanen and Janssen. So that makes it 3-1 before Radulov would score a goal from Faxa and Como. So Radulov with a pretty decent game tonight as well, but Dallas is down 3-2 going into the third period. In said third period, Nylander scores from Muzzin and Kerfoot. So Nylander, 5-game goal streak for him. William Nylander having a pretty darn solid season. And it kind of puts things away, although Radulov scores from Faksa to leave things close. They pull the goalie. While the goalie is pulled, Janssen hits said empty net. Your final score is 5-3 in favor of the Toronto Maple Leafs, who make the argument that they belong in the playoffs right now. The 3 stars are Marner, Matthews, and Radulov. Your shots are 12-10 Toronto in the first, 15-8 Dallas in the second, 14-9 Toronto in the third. Shots were even in this game, 34 apiece. Anderson saved 31 out of 34. Bishop saved 29 out of 33. Remember, that 34th shot went into an empty net, and they don't count against that goaltender because he wasn't in the net. Because every now and then I'll see that where I'll say, oh, this much saved, and somebody goes, well, your numbers are off because there were more shots on goal than that. Yes, Dingus, it was the empty net goal. And dingus is the perfectly reasonable word to use in that example and in most examples on the internet. Dingus is a completely acceptable, almost complimentary word on the internet. Look it up. It's right there. Complimentary equals dingus. And now you know. And I just picture that star going across the NBC Now You Know star. The more you know. That's right. The more you know. Which to me is just a ripoff of G.I. Joe's Knowing is Half the Battle. I might be tired. Could be just a little bit. Today was the off day. The rest day. Next up. Calgary went into Edmonton tonight, and it kind of turned out the way that I figured it would. Matthew Tkachuk did fight with Zach Kassian. It took place early on in the game, not late in the game. And hopefully that's the end of it. Not the end of the Battle of Alberta, though. But in terms of the Battle of Alberta, Calgary's really doing quite well in the Battle of Alberta. And they are doing their best to distance themselves from other teams in the division, same as Vancouver's doing as well. And Vancouver, it's a more bewildering, how far does this go kind of matter. But for Calgary, they're starting to look like the team that did pretty well last year. Shootout loss against St. Louis, and now tonight they go to a shootout against Edmonton. They're at the very least always in close games, and they're getting points. So first period, Lindholm scores from Lucic and Hamonic, and that makes it 1-0 Calgary after 1. And Tkachuk and Kassian have their little brouhaha. And in the second period, Yamamoto scores from Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and Leon Draisaitl. So Kyler Yamamoto continues with his solid play. Mangiapane then scores from Bennett. That's followed by Chason scoring from Draisaitl and McDavid. Draisaitl again starting to get points here. Mangiapane would score his second of the game from Tkachuk and Rasmus Andersson with his fresh new contract. And so going into the third period, it's 3-2 in favor of Calgary. But third period, Matthew Benning gets his first. And Russell and Neal with the assists on that one. So we have a tie game. It goes into overtime. Overtime solves nothing. 0 is solved by overtime. And in the shootout, the only goal is scored by Sean Monahan. So after losing their first shootout, going to 5-1 with that loss against St. Louis, tonight in a shootout, they go to 6-1 with the win over the Edmonton Oilers. So Riddick saves 31 out of 34. Smith saves 25 out of 28. Both goalies, the numbers are good. Your 3 stars are Draisaitl, Mangiapane, and Matthew Benning. Shots, 17-12 Edmonton in the first, 11-10 Edmonton in the second. Both teams only had 4 shots in the third, almost as if they were trying to protect getting a point in the very tight Pacific Division. And in overtime, both teams got 2 shots. Final shots, 34-28 in favor of the Edmonton Oilers. So we'll see whether or not the Calgary Flames can continue to get the points and to maintain the speed of the team that's somehow in first place. I'm not quite sure how this happens. So, all right. Anaheim tonight, before the game, they had a tribute to Kobe. There were a lot of Kobe Bryant jerseys in the crowd. There were a lot of Angels jerseys in the crowd as well. It was Angels night. I almost think that the Angels and Kobe jerseys were as plentiful as hockey jerseys, maybe more. But that is not as important as the fact that, yes, the city has been mourning. I did, I did see all about the Kobe thing when it took place. That being said, my wife's just come in. If you want to step over, I just got into the Anaheim, Arizona part.
Okay, just a second. Let me set stuff down. Okay.
I thought maybe you'd want to chat about some of the stuff that happened tonight.
Oh, sure. See it. You take the hoodie off.
My hoodie.
Your hoodie. Your hoodie off.
Thank you to a subscriber for helping me with the purchase of said hoodie. All right, so before tonight's game, they had a tribute to Kobe Bryant.
Okay.
Did you see that?
I didn't.
Okay, so what they had was they had everybody take out their phones and turn on the light on their phones. And so the whole arena was filled up with phone lights. I did have my phone light on as well. They did have the anthem shortly thereafter. And it was I thought, a decent pregame overall. It's not a really fancy presentation in Anaheim.
No, not at all.
So we have the fun drummers in Vancouver.
Yeah.
There's fun
We have
drummers,
fun
which we
stanchion
borrowed from
lights.
Vegas. We got that
Yeah.
from Vegas. We have the stanchion lights in
We have
Vancouver.
stanchion lights. We have the little light shows on
And there's
ice.
the Ring of Honor. There's players all around. Anaheim's kind of bare bones when it comes to the arena and its presentation.
They don't even do the fun little lights on the ice.
No.
Of course, Vegas doesn't really either.
No, Vegas doesn't either. But
Which I think is odd.
I did find that it was more bare bones, and it feels
Very sedate.
It feels like a bigger arena, but it has a smaller capacity than Vancouver. So it's higher up. It feels like it's higher up, and I say feels like because it might just be an illusion.
It doesn't look like it when you're in the lower bowl. It seems like it's
flat.
less steep
It's
of
flat.
an angle than Vancouver because there were parts of the ice I couldn't see because of the guys in front of us.
Yeah. So heads
you're
being in
not
front of
tall.
your heads obscuring your view doesn't happen in Vancouver.
No.
And
that was
in Anaheim, it did.
Yeah.
It did.
Yeah.
Think along the lines of, for Edmonton fans out there, it's like Rexall. When I went to Rexall for a Rammstein concert, I remember it was being very flat, and I had trouble seeing over people, and I thought this would be horrible for a hockey game. Or thinking, if I was here watching a hockey game, the angles just would be awful. So with Vancouver, it's more of a vertical build, and with Vegas, it is as well. And with Vancouver and Vegas, in both cases, I think it's because you had a small footprint to put the building into. So you kind of had to build it vertically like that.
Yeah, they definitely had a larger space because they have that.
But it makes it feel like Anaheim.
It
makes it feel like Anaheim should have more fans in it than it does. But some of the designs of the stadium I thought were kind of odd. Some of the placements of the aisles, where I thought, if they'd placed that aisle just a little bit of a different spot, you would have been able to get another 50 seats there. You probably got more seats here. And I think now it is a quieter arena, but when it's that much wider at the lower bowl, it's going to sound quieter.
It was a lot more sedate.
Until the fights.
More. Yes, they liked the fights.
They really liked the fights.
Was very.
But like, for instance,
calm.
They called a penalty, the first penalty that was called against Anaheim, and nobody reacted until the referee called it.
But the timing of that penalty, it was right when there was a commercial break.
Yeah.
So no attention was drawn to it till after the commercial break.
It's one of those things where in Vancouver, as soon as that referee's arm goes up, there's booing.
Yeah.
As soon as the referee's arm goes up in Vancouver, there's booing immediately. And did you notice, too, that when the referee came out on the ice for the second period, they were booing him as soon as he came out on the ice? They hadn't even dropped the puck yet, and the fans were already booing him. So they decided it was the referee's fault that Nick Ritchie takes a lot of penalties. I don't know that it works that way. And there was the one hold that was kind of obvious.
Ridiculous.
Right?
Pulling his jersey. Oh my gosh.
So, yeah, Nick
funny.
Ritchie does know how to take penalties.
So ridiculous.
He's got that down. He's got that part of the game down. And then I watched Nick Ritchie too, and after he got that second minor against him, he was lingering around the ice looking for some. I don't know if he was looking for a fight or what it was, but he was nowhere near the other players, and I even pointed out to her. I said, "Look at 37. He's nowhere near anybody right now." He wasn't coming back to help defensively at all.
He was busy.
So I was like, if you're going to linger, at least linger near the puck or near your teammates or something, or just go over to the bench and just pace behind the bench. I don't know. But you're not helping your teammates by skating around at center ice like a goon and just skating around. And so it was so weird. And I kept an eye on Richie the rest of the night because I kept waiting for fights. And they didn't really happen. No. There was the one play that from our side of the rink, it looked like Nick Ritchie had a pretty good fight with a member of the Coyotes. I'm trying to remember who it was. I don't remember if it was Garland or who it was. But on the reverse angle, you could see the other guy never threw a punch.
Right.
That it was just Richie trying to goad him into a penalty. It just wasn't happening. The guy wasn't taking the bait. So the game got really chippy.
Yeah. There
were some scary hits.
I was surprised they didn't call a penalty on one of the Coyote players.
Yes. Yes. There were plays where they could have had offsetting and they didn't.
And
I
didn't stop.
I kind of understood why the fans were upset tonight, and I still that was a fun little game though. And honestly, there were some scary hits. I don't normally flinch with hits, but there were a few of them there that I thought, wow, that's a pretty big hit right there. I think Silverberg threw one of the hits I saw that was pretty nasty. Gibson, I thought, played well early, and then he had some bobbles in there, but he finished out the game pretty well. Ranta, Doug McLean once said he needed to make a save, and tonight when they really needed a big save from him, it just wasn't there. So that has to be somewhat frustrating. And I know Coyotes fans on Discord weren't very happy about Aranta and saying they needed Kemper back. The other problem, though, is they're not getting enough goals. There was a play there where Taylor Hall got hit at center ice, and I'm not sure if he was admiring his pass or what happened because it wasn't really where my eyes were at the time, but he almost got drilled into the middle of next week. Taylor Hall has got to be watching himself in the middle of the ice. He does have an injury history, and if he plays like that, he's going to find himself on the injured list again. He's got to be really, really careful. He wasn't on the score sheet tonight. No, he wasn't on the score sheet at all. I really didn't notice him outside of that. And I honestly, I thought Hinostroza played well. Schmaltz played well. Ekman Larson as well. But Taylor Hall was really kind of not that visible. And this is the time of year where they needed him, and they didn't generate enough opportunities in the third. The third was really slow.
It was.
And then fans just started leaving.
Yes.
They just, about 5-6 minutes left, they're like, all right, well, we're all out of here.
Yeah.
And they left.
The upper bowl was mostly empty.
I have to say, too, when I'm in Vancouver, there's always a huge lineup for the washroom.
Yes.
Huge lineup for the washroom. You might be there for 10 minutes waiting to go.
Oh, gosh. At the end of the game, too. It's just
end of the game's crazy. Ridiculous.
And line is just
I went to the washroom during the game tonight, and nothing. There's no lineup, and that was in between periods, and then at the end of the game, nothing, no lineup. And I was like, this is insane. I'm pretty sure in Vegas there were lineups too, but I don't remember either. But Vegas, I don't know. It's a different feel. It's a totally different crowd. I did enjoy it. I don't know when we'll come back to another game, but that was enjoyable.
Oh yeah.
I went through their store and got myself a hoodie and got myself a sticker. I'll turn into a magnet because it's what I do.
That is what you do.
I do that a lot.
Shannon puts everything into magnets.
Yeah, so I was like, that'll make a good magnet. So there's that. And there's some cool, fun, collectible stuff that I got via a subscriber, which is really cool. It's a Jonas Hiller pin. Never going to find that anywhere locally. And then after the game, I got my picture taken with Guy Bear. They have the Fox Sports setup outside the arena, and you can watch the post game, and then you can meet Guy Bear, and he'll sign whatever you bring him, and he'll take a picture with you. So it was more accessible than hometown hockey.
Yes.
Remarkably more accessible than hometown hockey. And
not as cold.
No, it's not as cold. It's not as cold, but it just felt more like we were a part of it.
Yeah.
And the way they have the whole thing set up, you feel like the fans are more a part of the production, which is nice. And yet, during the game, the fans are not part of the production.
No.
And they don't have, like, little kids games in between periods.
No,
which
that
they
was
did in
odd.
Vegas either.
But they have the little shows.
Yeah.
Here they had that one.
They had the
game.
fans shooting on the net in between the first and the second.
Yeah.
And then what was between the second and the third? Anything?
Ball floating around.
Was that all?
And they kept doing the weird game on the screen.
Where you've got the cup and ball thing just with hats.
Instead of Timmy Cup, yeah, one time it was done.
But it's not like anybody in the crowd was actually competing for it. In Vancouver, somebody's competing to get like a Tim Hortons gift card or whatever.
Yeah.
And here it was just, hey, where is it? And everybody yells it out, and then you're either right or you're wrong, but that's it. I was like, that's kind of sad. They just didn't have giveaways.
Yeah.
It was kind of...
Yeah,
I don't know.
And they really didn't do the fan interaction that we're used to. Like ours, they do a lot more of the t-shirt cannon, and they have the little. They do things like to.
Well, they had the t-shirt cannon.
Yeah, not the cannon. No, they came in through to the aisle.
Yeah, they were shooting it. Yeah, they were shooting t-shirts.
It was different. It was just that little.
It was more low key.
Area.
Yeah, it was more low key.
And
whereas Finn can hit the other side of the arena.
Yeah.
You just point and
Right.
Yeah, it's a little more.
And they do
pushy.
more fan interaction with the camera all throughout the game. Like at every commercial break.
Yeah.
They're doing more fan interaction, but here they did commercials.
Yeah.
Like we saw commercials.
Yeah, there's a lot of because I think there's a lot of cross promoting with Disneyland.
But it wasn't all Disneyland.
There was a lot of it though, and then there was the landfill. Landfill was funny. Don't take videos of your mascot at the local landfill.
That was so funny. That was one of those like, Shannon, look, Shannon.
Because it makes it look like your mascot's hanging out with garbage.
Oh, so funny. Yes.
And it's something immediately. I'm like, I don't make memes, but I'm telling you that is asking for me to Photoshop something onto it.
That was funny. Yeah, just way less fan interaction.
Yeah.
Like at both in Vegas and Canucks, there's different people going around through the audience trying to rile them up. And
I will say this though, at least they let the girls that clean the ice put on jackets during the second and third period.
Yeah, after the first intermission, they gotta wear jackets.
Because that arena is cold. That arena is cold, and I know it's a hockey rink. I know, but it is a cold rink.
Cold.
And those girls aren't wearing a whole lot. And
their ankles are warm though, so
they got big fluffy boots.
They've got leg warmers on the lower half of their legs.
Their
midriffs aren't covered, but they've got leg warmers, so it's fine.
That's what happens.
Fine.
That's what happens when the
boys design it.
The boys design the wardrobe. Yeah, that's what happens.
Yeah.
Why would not just get out there on the ice? Don't worry, you got your leg warmers. That'll keep you warm.
It's good. It's a party.
And then between the first and the second, it became this isn't working.
Cold. We're cold. I can't work like it.
So yeah, I felt bad because the ice cleaners in Vancouver, they're always suited up for the most part.
Yeah, they have little jackets that they wear in leggings.
Yeah. The jackets are fun too. They always have
They're
the sequins on the women's jackets.
They look like sparkly jerseys.
I've never seen those in the store either.
No, they're just for them, so you can
They should sell them because I think they'd sell pretty well.
Because glitter makes everything better.
But yeah, so Anaheim, it was a fun game. It was a fun atmosphere.
They had nice seats.
Arizona. Oh, the seats are great. Cup holders.
That's great.
Cup holders. It's something small.
They
and
only
yet
have that in the very first row at Canuck games.
And they're useless for the most part.
I don't know.
They're not as nice as the ones we had tonight in Anaheim. So you guys have cup holders. Your head's high about the cup holders. Those were fantastic.
Fancy.
They were fancy cup holders.
Fancy.
And the seats were far enough back that we didn't have to stand up every time someone went by us. We didn't have to.
Yeah.
Which there are some areas lower down in Vancouver that are like that. Basically the first couple of rows. Yeah. But that far back, there's no way. But that speaks to the fact that it's flatter too. So, the seats are more spread out in the lower bowl. And it's definitely flatter, so it's hard to see if you're shorter than if you're taller, which is us. So,
I hadn't really paid attention to it until she mentioned it to me, and I think it was the third period.
Yeah.
And I couldn't.
Players bench.
We couldn't see the players bench. We couldn't. We were behind it. We couldn't see it. And because of the height.
So normally I'm able to watch like the line changes and stuff, because that's fun.
Yep.
I couldn't even watch line changes. Couldn't see it.
Yeah, it was, but it was a good game. Again, Arizona fans don't want us to go watch them anymore. They've decided we're jinx. It's not Taylor Hall, it's us. So from here on, if Arizona loses a game, it's not my fault, because I'm not going to see them the rest of the year. The only other games that we are seeing from here are going to be the Islanders against the Canucks and Vegas against Dallas in March, hopefully.
Yeah.
Have we nailed those tickets down or no?
Nope.
All right. We'll figure it out. We'll get her done. So, yeah. That game, Henrique scored early from Terry. Crowd went nuts when that goal went in. And then Hinostroza scored from Krause and Schmaltz to tie it up. And that was when fans were ready to turn on Gibson. They were ready to turn on their goalie quick.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought, okay, what? Because I heard some fans around us complain about Gibson. And fans told us before the game, they said to me, there's fans now and think Gibson's the problem. And I'm like, wait, he's not, though. So Henry scored from Kasha before the end of the first. I really thought we were going to see Kasha get a goal. Second period, Lindholm scored from Grant Delorier. I thought we'd see Delorier get in a fight. You can ask her, every time he was on the ice, it was ready for a fight. Didn't happen. Lindholm did get a goal. I did take credit for that.
He did. Absolutely.
I mentioned it during preview that I thought Lindholm was overdue, and he only has one in the season. Now he has two, so I take credit for that.
So you're welcome.
Krause got one from Schmaltz and Hinostroza. I thought Nick Schmaltz had a good game until he took a penalty in the third. And Rowney closed out the scoring from Grant. What's interesting with Grant is that he's from Abbotsford. So that was kind of nice to see him get an assist tonight. And Rowney with a goal. And I was talking about Rowney in the first, where I said he needs to shoot the puck more. And he must have heard me from my seat. Because in the second, he got a goal. So, again, I can't really take credit.
Welcome.
But, yeah.
He is anyways.
I might as well. So that was your score after 2, and that was it. And then fans just started wandering off at 6 minutes.
Yeah.
And she even said they're not coming back. I was like, what? They're winning. Why are they leaving when they're winning? It's not what you're supposed to do. You stay till the end when you're winning. When we try to get out of the arena in Vancouver, sometimes we have to wait 15 minutes to get out of that lower bowl.
Yeah.
And there's no way anybody had to wait 3 to get out of that lower bowl tonight. It was just empty.
Yeah.
And we can stand around after a game for quite a while in Vancouver, and here they shoot us out of the building.
Oh, they locked the
They locked the team store, so
you
you have to get in from the outside.
Which I would think most people are like, oh, they're closing. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And then team store is it's cluttered, and
It's fun to wander around, and they had so many shirts and stuff.
It is, but it's kind of too much.
A lot of.
On some level, it's kind of too much, because it was just too much for me to look at.
It was.
I preferred the kiosk.
Yes.
I preferred the kiosk because everything was just basic, and they just had the right amount of stuff, and I thought the kiosk was better. So we got a sweatshirt from there, and you'll be able to use that.
Around other teams' team stores, so.
Yes, because they are really, really different. This team store is very, very different. So. Anaheim's got a pretty decent setup.
Yeah.
And I thought...
It's a nice arena.
It is.
Outside of the game area, the round area. Space and birds here. It was very big and open.
The whole, hallway, the corridor.
Yeah.
The main corridor that goes all the way around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really big.
The one thing with that is that in Vancouver you have a lot of different kiosks,
yeah.
and in Anaheim you have one.
No.
1 or 2.
There's 2. There
couple
was
of
the
kiosks.
bigger one that we went to, and then they had the little one.
The little one, and then there's the store, and that's it. And I think if they downsized the store a little bit and took some of that merchandise and put it out to kiosks in the hallway, you would get some of that clutter out. I think you have better foot traffic in the store, and you probably sell more items.
Maybe.
I think
you
you'd
wouldn't
sell
have to
more.
go into the crowded team store all the time.
Yeah, I think, but again, that's just me thinking, just along the lines of as a Canuck fan, and as having
But
seen how
see,
it's
the
done
Canuck
elsewhere.
store, we have the benefit of it being 2 floors.
It's fantastic.
So it makes it not as bad.
I know people that watch this channel that have worked at the Canucks store that weren't necessarily happy about their experience working there. This has nothing to do with working. I'm just saying that as a customer, it's a store that works well. And even when it's cluttered, it doesn't feel that bad.
Mm-hmm.
And this one is just chaos.
Mm-hmm.
It's just chaos.
Mm-hmm.
Absolute chaos. All right, shots in this one were 12 apiece in the first, 12-10 in the second for Anaheim, 8-5 in the third. Arizona really didn't push in the third. Final shot 32-27. Henrique, Lindholm, and Gibson are your 3 stars. Raanta saves 28 out of 32. Gibson saves 25 out of 27. All right, now I guess I can move on to the next game unless you have anything else to add.
I don't think so.
All right,
I'm good.
there you go. Now, Kings. You guys had a lead and then didn't, huh? If it makes you guys feel any better, it's Tampa. Tampa does this. So, first period, Toffoli would score from Kempe and Kopitar. So 1-0 for the Kings. Second period, Iafallo makes it 2-0 from Brown and Martinez. And then cue the comeback. Because that's the way it works. I think that was like a minute into the second period. So, Kings probably feeling pretty good about themselves. Controlled the puck in the first period. And then in the second, Tampa does what Tampa does with the comeback. First, it's Johnson from Palat and Cirelli when you need a key goal from Tampa. Tyler Johnson's a good bet. Stamkos would then score from Kucherov and Point. So Kucherov is starting to put up points. And so it's 2-2 after 2. Third period, Chernak scores from Kucherov and Stamkos. That's the second helper of the night for Kucherov. Stamkos with a goal and an assist. And then the dagger. Stamkos with the empty netter from Point Lorne makes it 4-2. And LA, despite their best efforts, they are still having problems scoring goals. Now, Vasilevsky being at the other end of the ice, that doesn't help you score goals. But for Tampa, big game for them tonight. They keep the pace with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Keeping in mind, Toronto's won back-to-back games since the All-Star break ended. And for Tampa, that's a big thing. Stamkos, Chernak, and Martinez are your 3 stars, and they avoid the dreaded trap. And I said this morning I didn't really think it was worth putting an Akbar magnet on, and I'm glad I didn't. Shot 12-5 in the first for the Kings, 12-10 in the second for the Tampa Bay Lightning, and 12-7 in the third for the Kings. Final shots 34-24 for LA. Vasilevsky saves 32 out of 34 in the win. Quick saves 20 out of 23 in the loss. And it's another setback for Kings. I'm not sure what's going to happen with Toffoli when, but I would think he gets traded sooner rather than later. There are a number of teams that I think would be interested in picking up Toffoli. Him getting a goal tonight. You got to strike while the iron's hot. You might as well get rid of him. I would think there would be significant interest. I would think a team like, for instance, Edmonton doesn't get mentioned much. They talk a lot about Calgary. If Edmonton could pick up Toffoli without mortgaging too much, I know Yamamoto's picked up some of that scoring on the wing, and Cassian's happy and all that. Yeah, Toffoli, that just might be enough to get them into the playoffs comfortably. But we'll see what the Kings do, because that's the storyline with the Kings right now, is who they're going to sell and when and for how much. Other than that, there's not a whole lot else to tell. And of course, when they're going to switch back to purple jerseys, right? Right. Now, last game of the night. Vancouver. This is bizarre. Absolutely bizarre. For many, many years now, I have watched the Valley of Death, is what I called California for the Vancouver Canucks. And lo and behold, it isn't. Not anymore. Nope. Hurdle scores from Meyer and Dillon in the first. Of course, Dillon's been rumored to be on the move quite a bit, so we'll see what happens with Dillon. Quinn Hughes then with a nice shot from the point, scores from Besser and Tanev, and that makes it 1-1 after 1. But in the second period, Brent Burns would score from Thornton and LeBanc. So 2-1 San Jose entering the third period. And San Jose was totally in control of the shots. And this is where things kind of turn ugly. Markstrom has been a beast for Vancouver. So when people talk about Demko playing well, and I understand Demko has played well, yes, but Markstrom has also been otherworldly for large portions of the season, which is why he went to the All-Star game. Now, in the third period, Tyler Myers scores from Miller and Hughes. I'm hoping that Tyler Myers starts getting more credit for the fact that his offense is picked up. And while, yes, he makes defensive mistakes, I'm not going to pretend he doesn't, he's still playing very well. Virtanen then scores his 15th from Pearson and Gaudette. A line of players that have all been maligned for different reasons. Gaudette at points last year, it looked like he wasn't really NHL ready. And Pearson, of course, when he came over from Pittsburgh, his value was very low. They got him from Good Branson. And Virtanen was considered a flop a year and a half ago. Done. Just never going to be anything decent. And look, Vancouver picked him where he sucks, blah, blah, blah. That conversation's changed. Brandon Sutter then scores from Beagle and Miller, and I'm very glad to see Sutter on the board tonight. Brandon Sutter is a player that I like very much, and I honestly have appreciated him more since I saw him early in the season with Canucks, and I've watched his game, and I took, basically isolated on him at points when I was watching Canucks games, because I found it interesting to see how he plays. Very good player, very underrated. And I think it's because of his contract. I think because his contract is expensive, I'm not going to lie, it means that people don't, I think people take him for granted. And I think people attack him a lot, definitely in the Canucks fan. Beagle as well on the board with that assist. And then there's Pearson. He'd hit the empty net. So empty netter for Tanner Pearson from Horvat and Eriksson. So Pearson with a goal and an assist in the third period. And the Canucks score 4 in the third period to add the life, the misery to the life of the San Jose Sharks, as the 3 California teams generally are still struggling. Although Anaheim tonight, with me in attendance in Anaheim, you guys are undefeated. Just throwing that out there. The Anaheim Ducks are undefeated with me in the crowd. Just saying. 3 stars tonight for Vancouver: Markstrom, Hughes, and Miller. JT Miller continues to be an amazing story for the Vancouver Canucks. I know that drives some non-Canuck fans nuts, and drives some Canuck fans nuts too, because they really love hating on that trade with Tampa. They can't handle the idea that JT Miller might very well be that elusive winger to get them in the playoffs. And of course, Eriksson with another assist on an empty netter. That's kind of what Eriksson's thing is now, is once the goalie comes out, he's on. Markstrom saved 38 out of 40. So, wow. And Jones saves 20 out of 24. Again, Arundel is their starting goaltender. But San Jose is so far out of it at this point that I don't think there's anything San Jose can do to get back into this. But for the Canucks, they maintain first place. And they look really solid. I think, and I understand, with the All-Star break, everybody looks at the Pacific Division and the points, and they say, oh, well, the Canucks are leading, but they're not a very good team. They are. And if they start playing on the road like they do at home, and if Markstrom starts putting up the kind of numbers on the road that he does at home, this team absolutely could end up finishing first in their division. It sounds weird for me to say it, because while the Vancouver Canucks had 101 points in 2015 and they had a very good year, it was not like this. This is different, and it's bizarre. That being said, you guys are now all caught up on tonight's action. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below, as always. Great thank you to my wife for aiding me in reviewing the Anaheim and Arizona part of things. And again, I know we talk about the mundane and the stuff that other people may not pay attention to, but I find it fascinating. I do. I would actually, people say, who would you want to interview? I'd want to interview the ice crew, and I'd want to interview the people who are ushers. I'd want to interview people who work in concessions. I would want to talk to people who are part of the inner workings of a team, because I find that interesting, and I think we always hear enough from coaches and players and assistant coaches. We don't know that whole thing, but there's always the behind the scenes, how the game is presented and everything that I think would be amazing to watch and talk to people about. And nobody would watch those videos. Anyways, there you go. Thank you guys so much for watching. For people in California who've come out to meet us at the first meetup in tonight, which we were late for because we had a babysitter problem. Honestly, it's been great. We will come back. So if you're worried about us not coming back, we will. And that is the plan. And tomorrow's our last day in Disneyland, so all the fun is still to be had. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. And I will get a preview up for tomorrow's games, which will be pretty basic or simple because there's only a few games for tomorrow. And I will also likely try to squeeze in some kind of a news video thing. And if I can do that from the park, I will absolutely do that from the park, because it's our last day in the park, so we want to spend the day in the park. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.